Hey, good afternoon. Nick Lehman here from Texcel. Just wanted to, for the benefit of a few users, walk you through some inclusions in our standard ETM kit. You'll notice here that I have one that hasn't made it into the box just yet. So I've got it out here so we can sort of a bit easier for me to walk through sort of what that front keyboard looks like and what it does and why those things are there. I guess I'll start by sort of talking through a few of the things that come in the box. This is a geophone, standard ground mount. So this is a horizontal geophone. The red arrow, I'll zoom in a bit for you, is there to give us sort of some directionality, so we can sort of get an idea of where it should be facing. So if I'm facing you guys, sort of that way, so you're my source. And this little beast, as you can sort of, it's pretty straightforward. There's only one mil-spec connector. It'll go on this animal, as we see there, which is the geophone input. We've got a couple other things here on the outside of this, which I may bring this to you. This will make a bit more sense in terms of what we've got here. So we've got, you notice the input here, which is the same as what I was showing you with the geophone. We have there a power port, which you can notice here. So that's our secondary port adjacent to our geophone. And then we have an alarm. So this is for our visual alarm. So this is if you're wanting to have a flashing light or something of that order. Secondary alarms, visual aid to say someone operating an excavator or someone on site that wants to know a bit more about that and be notified visually. This is our B&C connector, which will be where we set up our antenna. And then you see a couple of things on the front screen, which I guess I'll talk about a little bit later. So I'll put this one back down here. I'll pull out some of the bits that come in the box. First one is I've got a connector here. You notice sort of a little USB, mini USB, a standard USB. That'll be for the interface here on the front panel. So that'll allow us to sort of download out of that particular port there. So if we're wanting to set up a PC or something else to download that instrument, that's going to help us access that. Another one of our standard inclusions, mains charger. So you can sort of, whether or not, I guess, you use that inside or external. If we're going to have it external, you may want to look at something to make sure that we minimize exposure to the elements and things, so particularly moisture and dirt. You'll notice there'll be a sort of a connector on there that'll be custom cut for this particular device. That'll be a portion of what we have. And then our comms piece of the equation, our antenna. So we've got an antenna here. The antenna will just set, you'll notice just a couple, I'll zoom in for you on this one, just a couple screws here and here that protrude out of the case. So this little animal will go with this little animal, so silver to silver. And then that'll just have, it just slide right on. There's a bit of a gap in behind that, and there you go. So once those are connected up, we can start to then engage with the instrument remotely. So I'll leave those bits out here on the table. I'll pan back out a bit for you. So that's that piece of it. And it's pretty straightforward, right? So I'll utilize this one to show what might happen on the front screen. So again, I'll come hang out with you here real quick. So we've got our PC input, our on-off buttons, toggles to move around in an event we want to control things remotely. We've got a monitor number here on the top right-hand corner. A few little things around to start the monitor. So it talks a little bit about attaching sensors, press on and then press enter. These are pretty essential to get it up and operational. So I'll go ahead and do that. So I'll turn it on. Just had Michael sort of play with it about downstairs. Just run through a quick self-test. Now you can see some things on the front screen, and we use, again, these to work through that. So we can look at, let's just see if we have any space, and we have nothing. So it gives us an idea of how many events and how many waveforms we can capture. And I'll go back out of there. The other thing I sort of like to have a look at is system. We'll enter on that, and we'll go to power or battery in this case. and it gives us an indication of 10.4 volts. Not horrible. Gives us some temperature readings. If we go to the back button, e.g. this one, not that one, not this one, sorry, just the left, this will take us to our backup battery. It says that's okay. In the event that fails, it'll start to say things to us, but what it'll compromise is storage if it goes down. If the battery does fail, the internal large capacity battery. So that's worthy of noting. So with all that sort of done, I'll go back out to the front, I'll go down on duty. Now, if I'm connected up, I've got the sensors connected up, and I want to turn this animal on, just going to hit enter. As a consequence of that, it's going to start to count down. It's going to say some things to us, and it'll start sampling straight away. It gives us our time, it gives us our arm, it gives us a modem on piece of it. So it starts talking to particular things. And then as a sort of a consequence of SIM cards being in there and things, which I don't think we've hit one. No, we don't. So we won't have connectivity or SMSs on this particular one, but it gives us an indication of, it'll start to tell us a bit about that. Once this is set up, what traditionally we'd do is I would take this little geophone and I'd kick this animal. And then normally when we go to set up with the remote comms, it'll come back to us and SMS us and advise us that we are up and operational. It'll give us the size of the event and the peak frequency, and those are pretty important pieces of the puzzle. Hopefully that's relatively useful. The one thing I guess I want to, we'll focus on, I'll put some of these back in the box, and we'll come back to the geophone. Now, what I really want to talk about with regards to that, and there's some things you may contend with whilst you're out on site, which are things like, do we have solid network connectivity? Is it power? Do we have mains power? Internally, we should get somewhere between 3 and 4 weeks on this, maybe as little as 2, depending on what sensor type we have and how often we're engaging the modem. So that's worthy of noting as well. But on these things, again, as I sort of said to you before, once this is connected up, we want the arrow ideally to face the source. So if the source is something in that general direction, we would like to point it in that direction. But one other thing worth noting is, again, this is horizontally mounted, which means that it should be flat, relatively level. We don't really want it bent. We don't really want it up. It should be flat. In the event we don't do that, we'll see odd results in our data. We could have no ZC sort of outcomes, or just axes that just are pretty flat. That would be cause the question how we've mounted it. The other thing worth noting is if you do want to mount it on a surface, say for example, if this was a wall and I was wanting to monitor on that wall, and we could adhere that unit to that, we would just need to calibrate this geophone to be vertical, and then we could go about gluing it, screwing it, or attaching it in a manner that's suitable based on what we're dealing with here. So if we're dealing with a heritage structure or things like that, oftentimes you won't be able to screw into that. But there's some ways we can go about doing that. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight into that. Prompts any questions, sing out. But I'll leave you with that for now. Thanks very much, and I'll catch you later.